Hello, and welcome back to the Michigan State University Wealth Management Association podcast. This week we have John Mason joining us on the podcast as he shares about how to align your financial career with your life goals. We hope you enjoy.
Welcome back to the Michigan State Wealth Management Podcast. Today we have John Mason, and then I'm gonna let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Garrett, for having me on. I shouldn't say I'm sorry to share this. I'm a Michigan alum, but I still like Michigan State. Got a lot of friends that went to state, obviously. But I am a consultant at Oliver Wyman right now in our Detroit office. I graduated from the University of Michigan in May of 2023, and I am from St. Clair, Michigan. If we got one from St. Clair County, so it's good to be on this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, John. My first question is, what drew you into Oliver Wyman, and why have you been staying there?
I mean, I can answer the question why consulting in general, and then also why Oliver Wyman as well. So I think this would be good for people to hear this, especially people that are like freshmen or sophomores, or even I mean everyone's it's applicable, right? Trying to figure out what they want to do. So when I was a sophomore, I thought that investment banking was the coolest thing in the world. And a part of it is because you have to recruit so early for it. So I remember I thought I wanted to do investment banking. I interned that summer at Greenwich Capital Group in Birmingham, Michigan, and they're amazing people, by the way. I had a really good experience interning there. I know they tend to take kids from Michigan State pretty frequently as well. But I think during that internship, I know this isn't like a super remarkable learning, but what I learned was what it's like to be an adult, and that is you wake up and you go to work every day. And I heard this phrase from someone that really stood out to me. It is when you become an adult, work becomes a piece of your pie, right? Like if you go fishing on Wednesday nights, that's a sliver of your pie of life, right? And work is going to make up, especially when you're young, the majority of your pie, the majority of your waking hours. So I just had a simple realization is I think what you should pursue career-wise should be something that aligns with who you are, but also who you want to be and what you want to do, right? And I thought that the things I'm really passionate about are learning and people. And I think that's fundamentally what consulting is about, right? Because I think investment banking is like finance boot camp, and
Hmm.
I think consulting is like business boot camp. So that drove an interest in consulting. And I'm just going to tell you the whole story because I think it'd be good for people to hear, especially in today's job market with the uncertainty, right? So um, I already had like several super days at this point for, great investment banks that, in New York and on Wall Street. Didn't have any of them. I realized, okay, I don't want to do banking anymore. It's all part of God's plan. I'm okay. I start recruiting consulting, and this is going into my junior year. And I end up getting interviews at like every consulting firm, McKinsey, Bain, BCG, all the other name brand ones like EY, even some economic consulting firms. And I struck out that fall, junior year. I think I went like 0 for 7 or 0 for 8 on interviews, right? I keep recruiting all the way until February until I finally got an offer at a boutique consulting firm called, ironically, because you're from Marysville, it's called Maryville Consulting Group in St. Louis. And they were great people too. I have, no hard feelings against them. They were awesome, and I was lucky to be there. But obviously, I wanted to make it to a bigger firm that was more strategy focused, and I could work on a variety of industries. And I definitely didn't want to be in St. Louis, so I re-recruited senior year. And senior year, I had McKinsey final round, didn't get it. I won't lie, I cried after that interview. BCG final round, I didn't get that. I think I had Roland Berger. Didn't get that either. It's where my little brother's interning this summer. And then I had Oliver Wyman, which was pretty much my last like really good consulting firm that I would have been excited about working at. And if I didn't get Oliver Wyman, I probably would have considered working in like football or sports. So
Hmm.
I think I tell the full story because like I think like you hear like, oh, why do you pick this place or why do you end up working here? I think like most people don't tell you that, hey, they failed a bunch of times, right? You're going to get rejected like 100 times. All it takes is one yes. And to be honest, I think things worked out really well where if I had to go back in hindsight and pick any consulting firm, I know this sounds cheesy, but I probably would have picked Oliver Wyman. And I'll give a quick pitch about Oliver Wyman as well. I think Oliver Wyman is the best management consulting firm to work at right now. And I think there's two reasons, right? The first is we compete in the big leagues essentially, right? So when it comes for projects and for talent, we compete with McKinsey, Bain, BCG, and any other top strategy firm, right? But the second reason is we do it with small firm culture. And I know that's like that sounds cheesy, right? But I mean it's just true. We only have 7 or 8,000 consultants in 30 countries around the world. So what this means is you're going to get really good big project opportunities, but it's still going to have a small firm feel where everyone knows, who you are, and you're only one or two connections away um, from everyone. And the last thing I'll say is I just think that the people are great. And at the end of the day, life's all about the people, and it's also just all about the mentorships and the people you work with. So hopefully that makes sense. I work at Oliver Wyman because they're the one consulting firm that gave me a job offer, though.
Yeah, that's a great response, John. I feel like that was very insightful for everybody there. And you talked about working on big projects. What projects in the future really excite you and you're looking forward to working them?
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you look up Oliver Wyman, you'll see we're very heavy in financial services. So I think at Oliver Wyman, that's definitely our strong suit. And I think the projects that, really excite me, I think are ones related to financial risk. I know
Hmm.
this is a topic that a lot of people don't know about, but it would be more so quantitative financial risk. So it'd be like if you help a bank, so you're helping Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan, you're going to help them look at different things like stress test different economic scenarios. And then based on those economic scenarios, how does it affect the bank's balance sheet? Because you ultimately want to avoid like a liquidity crisis, which is you don't have enough money at once to cover your liabilities, or essentially going bankrupt, right? And then
Hmm.
there's other like spin-offs of financial quantitative risk, like it's called like resolution planning, which is essentially if a bank fails, if a bank like dies, like a human, you write the will, like where do all the assets go? So in a financial crisis, if remember Lehman Brothers, I guess you were probably pretty little. I was pretty little too. Um, if a big bank like Wells Fargo goes under, what happens to all their assets? And there's actually a plan in place for that. And I think that's interesting. I think the other thing is maybe this would be interesting for a lot of the listeners is there's this thing called the CCAR stress tests. So post 08, 09 financial crisis, we create stress testing. The Fed every year has stress testing for the banks where they come out with different economic scenarios and then based on the economic scenarios, they apply it to the bank's balance sheets. And maybe I'm not doing a good job explaining this, but they say like, oh, in this scenario, 15% unemployment, you are going to go bankrupt. You are going to be okay, right? And it's based on how much capital, like how many assets you have related to your liabilities, and then how much leverage do you have. And then there's like different categories based on how big the bank is, because the bigger banks have, I mean, they're more systemically important, right? Like if JP Morgan fails, the economy is going to take a dump. But if like M&T Bank fails, it's like you might not have even heard of M&T, right? So I'll finish the spiel by saying that I think it's very relevant. And I also think that when you're our age, like when you're young, you don't want to be all fluff. It's obviously very highly quantitative as well, right? And I think
Absolutely.
it's important to develop that quantitative skill set as also it's just kind of interesting. And I also would like to try some healthcare projects as
Hmm.
well, because I think the healthcare system is super complicated and super messy. And I also think that to some extent, if we're healthy, smart, able-bodied individuals, we have the obligation to try and give back and make the world a better place, or at least help people. And I think you can also do that through hopefully making the healthcare system better, or at least learning why it doesn't work well.
Absolutely. So you talked about not having fluff in your skill set. What did you do in college that really developed you for your professional career?
Yeah. Let me get a drink of water really quick. I've been talking pretty fast, but I got a green cup too for the state people. But man, what did I do in college to help develop me for work?
Yep.
I mean, I'm going to say this, and this doesn't mean you shouldn't go to class, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't engage in class or like treat the course material with respect and all that stuff. I think that you learn more from doing, and I learned a lot more out of the classroom,
Hmm.
right? A couple of things. So first, job recruiting. You learn a lot from job recruiting in like being in a business club and being in a wealth management club because it's all about people. That's all about if you're in a club, if you're either being mentored or you're a mentor, you're leading people, getting up and speaking in front of the club, doing things like this, talking, presenting, all the stuff where you deal with people is really valuable through your experience you get with clubs and other extracurriculars, right? And then through recruiting, it's the same thing because recruiting, you have to show up and like I know what it's like. It's like really awkward at a job fair. You got to go have this 2 minute conversation with someone you've never met, right? Or you got to go into this like big info session and like form a semicircle around someone that like doesn't want to be there and try and stand out, right? So I think all these opportunities to develop your people skills are really, really valuable. And I think at the end of the day, like when you first get to your first entry level role, whatever that is, the expectation, at least at Oliver Wyman and other consulting firms, is that you don't know how to do anything, but you're willing to learn and you're willing to work hard. And ultimately, how do you learn how to be good at things? Given that means you have to know how to get along with people, right?
Yeah,
So I would say
absolutely.
just anything where you work with people,
Hmm.
right?
So those
Anything where you work with people. Yeah.
the soft skills are very important, especially going to consulting.
Yeah. I just think I mean, it doesn't matter if you go into finance, consulting, doesn't matter if you want to be a computer scientist.
Hmm.
Um, at the end of the day, people and like they're the most important part of life. And that sounds cheesy, but like I stole that phrase from Google's old CEO, Eric Schmidt. It's just at the end of the day, your career, your life, your college experience is just all about the people, right?
Absolutely. And then, John, I know you worked a lot with the U of M football team over all your 4 years. So, could you touch on that and how that really translated to your career as well?
Yeah. I mean, this is not a scripted answer, but I'm just going to tell you what I tell a lot of other people, right? And sorry for the state people watching this, but I had an incredible experience at University of Michigan as a student football manager. I actually did 5 seasons, right? Because my start date for my job got delayed a year, so I ended up working from 2019 to 2023. And I experienced 2 losses to Michigan State in 2020 and 2021, which was a really cool environment, by the way. But I'd say there's really 5 lessons I think that are super applicable that I learned from Michigan football that I mean I just think are just important for your college career and I think are applicable for when you start your career as well, right? So the story behind this is my senior year, um, I think I'm going to start my career soon. So I hop in the head strength coach's office and I ask him for career advice because he was the best strength coach in the country. He left to go to the Chargers, but he's the best strength coach in the country. I want to know what his career advice is. And we end up having this 45-minute conversation, right? So first thing is, Coach Herbert's advice is one, just have great attention to detail. And I think you learn this, if you're in a football environment or sports environment, but his advice to me is if you're going to stock the shelves at Kroger, you want to come in and like you said, get there an hour early, which I probably wouldn't do, but you're going to come in and if your job is to, like stock the water bottles, you want every label facing outwards, the exact same, right? Extreme attention over detail, right? I think that is just fundamental. You gotta do the little things right to do the big things right, right? Number two, and this one, I don't know if it's like politically correct, but I'm gonna say it's emotional consistency. I know you probably thought I was gonna say something worse, but emotional consistency, right? You got to be the same person every day, right? Well, the way Coach Herbert phrased it to me was he said, I've got a wife, I've got 2 kids, I've got a car with 4 tires. It doesn't matter if my wife's mad at me, my kid is sick, or I blow a tire in on my way to work. The second I walk through these doors, I'm wiped and I'm the same person every day, right? And it's not that you need to be an emotionless robot. Emotions are a good thing. It's just that showing up every day and being the same person really allows you to just stack days and just get a little bit better every day, right?
Mhm.
So I said there's 5 things. So I gotta keep going. Number three is this might be my favorite lesson is just be fearless, right? So the day before the Washington game, Coach Herbert talked about he was in I think fourth or fifth grade and he had to give a speech about the humpback whale in class. He had to present about the humpback whale that Monday in class. And the way he phrased it was, it's over the weekend. Um, he's practicing to the walls of his room, and the walls of his room know everything about the humpback whale, right? He gets to class on Monday. He's so nervous he can't eat. Some other kid goes up, and it's his turn. So the teacher says, "Okay, Ben, it's your turn." And Coach Herbert, he gets up to the front of class, and as his face gets all red, his pits are sweaty, his hands are sweaty, um, and he's got sweat dripping down his face, and he stammers for like 45 seconds. And then finally, his teacher goes, his kids are probably snickering in the back of class too. And finally, his teacher goes, "All right, Ben, you go sit back down now," right? And really, though, and now Coach Herbert, he says that now when I have to go speak in front of a group, right? I put myself back to that moment. But this time he's the adult, grown-up version, like the head strength coach at I guess now the LA Chargers. But he's in the back of the room challenging his younger self to say something. And honestly, like I always think about that too for myself is like you have a voice, you're here for a reason, you got to use it. Don't put yourself in a situation, especially when you're younger, when you're always going to be the younger person in the room, where you put yourself back in a situation and go, man, I wish I would have said something, or I wish I would have rose my hand in class, or I wish I would have asked that person out if they're walking down campus or whatever, right? You have a voice. Don't be afraid to use it, right? And just to wrap this up real quick, lessons number 4 and lessons number 4 and 5, right? Number 4 is that the journey is the destination, right? And the people are what make it so special. And it really dawned on me. I was on the sidelines. We won the national championship. This was my ending of my 5th season with the program, right? Um, I'll be honest, it's not that cool. It doesn't feel that great. If Izzo wins the national championship, I mean, it's going to be great for you guys. But to be honest, when you're there, it hits you and you go, man, I thought getting to the top of the mountain would feel way better than this. Because you think you're going to be overcome with this insane amount of joy and euphoria, and you're not. And it's honestly very depressing. And for me, it was very melancholy for like a minute, right? But then you see like the other coaches, the players, the staff that were there on the journey with you, and you start hugging them. I saw my parents who were in the stands, and they came down and saw them, and it makes you realize like that's what makes it special is the people that you get to experience the journey with. And when you graduate, you'll reflect back on your experience at state, and you're not going to go, man, walking across stage and getting my diploma was the best part of college, right? You're going to remember stuff like I don't know if I could say Boo Bear, like your roommate Boo. You're gonna remember like cooking with Boo, or like going to the gym with Boo, or just like little things like that, right? So I would just say the journey is the destination. And it's the people that make it really special. And then the fifth thing is I just think that if I were to tell myself, like if I was a sophomore, look back and tell sophomore John anything, I would just say like, hey, it's all gonna work out. You just gotta have faith. It's gonna work out probably better than you think things are going to work out for you,
Hmm.
right? Because for me, like my story is my start date at Oliver Wyman was delayed over a year, and at the time that was really difficult for me, right? I mean, that was really upsetting. But that gave me the opportunity to come back for one more year, and that was the 2023 season where I got to experience all these really cool things, and have these cool stories, and be a part of a national championship run. So I would just say like if something's not going right at school, I would just say, hey, it's honestly it's all gonna work out, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, that was awesome, John. And I really like the point where you touch on like your age being a benefit, especially in wealth management. The field's dominated by people 65, 60 years old. So being able to use your voice and really speak up, I feel like everyone needs to hear that. And it's just a great tone to set for the future.
No, absolutely. What I think about is I had my own moment like this when I interned at Maryville Consulting Group. Like we had to give presentations every other Friday, and I think it was the first or second Friday. Each intern had to present. We each had like 5 or 6 minutes as a part of the whole presentation. I remember I was really nervous, and I went up, and I'm pretty sure my face got all red, and it's like, man, that sucks. But I think I only talked for like a minute, and then I sat back down. And not that I'm like the elite presenter or anything like that, but I think that I put myself back in that moment sometimes too, and just like, hey, you don't want to have that feeling. Like
Hmm.
you should say something and use your voice. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then just to wrap it up here, John, if you were to give any college kid one piece of advice from all your experience, what would you say to them?
Okay, one piece of advice. That's difficult because I just rattled off like the
A
five
lot of
things from,
advice, yeah.
right? Um, I think like this one's targeted for like if you're a college student though. Um, okay, a couple things, right? First, have fun. Like 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 it's not that you're gonna peak in college. Like there's gonna be more things to look forward to in life, but I do think that going to school at Michigan State or wherever you go should be some of the best years of your life. And it honestly is because you get to live with your best friends. You have so much freedom. Don't become an alcoholic or anything like that, but like have fun, right? Don't think anything stupid, but you should have a lot of fun. The second thing is I think it's just like again, like it's all about the people and relationships in your life. So whatever like people that you get to have in your life, whether it's your mentee or someone you're mentoring or some professional connection that you make for either a networking call or professional event, or whether it's a professor and instructor, I would just say just cultivate those relationships and value those relationships, right? Because like that is the most important part, and frankly, that is the best part of college, right? And just the best part of life. And then while I'm at it, I'm just gonna keep going. I think the other piece of advice I have is that, and it's cheesy, but I just think it's true, is you just never know what someone's going through, and a lot of people are going through some storm in their life that you might not know about, right? So I think it's important to be nice to everyone, right? Because you hear these stories of like someone so and so is anecdotal, but they were gonna kill themselves that day. But then like some stranger waved at them, and that like prevented them from doing that for maybe a couple days, and they ended up getting help and being okay. So I think those are my piece of advice. Just have fun, really just value and cultivate the relationships you make, and just be nice to people. I think it's those are fundamentals right there.
Absolutely. Well, John, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. I know everyone listening will enjoy this conversation, so thank you once again.
Absolutely. Go blue, but best of luck to everyone.
Yep, go green.
If you enjoyed this discussion, please like and share the podcast on Apple and Spotify. The WMA podcast is part of Michigan State University's Wealth Management Association, a student organization whose goal is to inspire the next generation of financial advisors. Feel free to follow us on social media at MSU WMA and check out our website at msuwma.com. Anything heard on either the MSU WMA or Spartan Journal podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered as investment advice.